Shabbat Shalom Yasharala. Welcome to the study of the ancient Hebrew language and alphabet. We will be reading from this book right here, which I will show you the digital copy we'll be reading from that I have linked on my website, becomesetapart.com. So we'll be doing a lot of reading from that book. But before we begin, y'all know the deal. Let's start off with a prayer. Heavenly Abba, we come to you as humble servants. And if any of us needs to be humbled, Heavenly Father, we ask for you to discipline us, to correct us, do not let us fall to the left or right from your path without being corrected or at least being told of our sins or trespasses against thee, Heavenly Father. Please always give us foresight on what is good and what is bad. And during this path that we are seeking your word and your truth and your language, that you guide us through the Ruach Kodesh. Bahashem, Yasha, Amen, and Amen. Numbers 10:10. Let's blow the trumpets on his solemn feast days. I got my wife trumpet today because I love this little trumpet. Well, it's not little, but it's mine's just bigger. Shout of praise regardless if you have a shofar or not. All right, so let's start this up and share screen here. Once again, just let me know, keep me in the loop if anything doesn't work. So learning this software here. All right, so y'all should be seeing my Become Set Apart webpage. I'm going to show you that you can go here right now and read along with me. And I want you to have access to this book because I am not going to be reading all of it. We just ain't got time for it. I'm reading parts of it that I feel like will help incline your thinking of the Hebrew language and obviously the basics of the alphabet. That's the focus of what we're hitting on today. Is just to get your interest in the Hebrew language. From my studies, and the more I learn, really does get me going in further seeking out his righteous, pure language of Hebrew. So if you go to Learning Academy here, study tools links. 2 I just added at the very bottom here. This is the book we will be reading from. And then here is also another resource from the same author, Jeff Benner. This is a lexicon, and this is the book. And so just want to show you, okay, this is what we're reading from in this live, and then this is a resource I will be talking about at the very end of this live, the lexicon. Okay, so let's click off of that, and let's begin this live. The ancient Hebrew language and alphabet. We see some of the pictographs in the background. We will be going over the basics of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, not the modern, two totally different languages, which is something we're going to touch on in this live. And we know that English, just there's something off about it. English has a lot of spellings and curses within our modern conversations. And this is just a quick video of a woman playing on that. Let's watch it.
I mean by the secret spells of the English language. Well, let me share with you what I call our premier life sentence. And it goes something like this. We awake each morning and go off during the weekdays to earn the living at various jobs and undertakings until we come to the weekend. And this seems perfectly acceptable to most people. However, more people die between 6 and 9 on a Monday morning than any other time of the week. So I do what I call a translation of the English language, and I spell that Trance with the idea that words cast spells. So when you translate that life sentence, you remember that awake is a funeral party for the dead. Mourning is the state you're in when you attend a wake. And you would have to be in a weekdays to earn the living, since urns are for the ashes of the dead.
All right. Words cast spells, which is why when we write out the letters of a word, it's called spelling. When we read in this Hebrew language book, it will show that the American modern day alphabet is copied from the original Hebrew, the majority of it. So they took the idea from the original and perverted it, something that Hasatan has done with virtually everything. So this is something I wrote in my stories a couple of years back, and I stand with it. I'm going to read it here. So here's the ancient Hebrew characters. And I wrote, it's never been about the spelling of the names in the English because it's a fake made up language. The power is in the pronunciation in sounds, which comes from the original Hebrew pictograph / these symbols. There's no such thing as a correct English spelling of the father or son's name. How can you have a correct spelling of his name in an accursed language that came centuries, millenniums later? This is the devil's language. We spell it out to help us pronounce it, but it's never been about the spelling. Just think about it. And from the beginning, creation was spoken into existence. The power has always been in the tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So just real quick, here we have the 22 letters of the ancient Hebrew. And by this study is going to be here. It's obviously going to be posted. So you can come back and take these notes or take a picture of these resources because, let me zoom it out a little bit. Because I want this study to be a foundation of something more, something you can relate back to, a lot of basic instructions. That's what I'm using this book. It's because it's supposed to be for a person that doesn't know much about Hebrew. It's giving you the foundation work to build on something bigger, starting with the origin of Hebrew, which are pictographs. Focusing on the original sounds. That's why I also wanted to add that caption here, because the focus is also going back to the original sound. I don't know about y'all, but I want to speak Hebrew as Abraham spoke Hebrew. I don't want to speak Hebrew like the Revelation 2939 Jews. That's the focus of this live. Too many of us kind of settles into whatever is common, right? Whatever the way things are, shalom. But do you know the characters that make the word shalom? And it should actually sound more like shalom. And it's not the point that you're sinning by mispronouncing. It's the fact that we go back to the original for everything. When we got out of Christmas, what did we do? We said, what's the origin? We went back and we said, what's the original origin of this? Oh, it's pagan. Well, let me make some adjustments. That's what this study is about. A lot of modern Hebrew is a whole nother language. They give you different sounds. And the more you study ancient Hebrew, you will see that that's why there's so many different pronunciations, because a lot of the mainstream pronunciations is wrong. It's a whole nother different sound-based sister language to Hebrew, but it's not Hebrew. It's modern Hebrew. It's Ashkenazi Hebrew. It's not the Hebrew Abraham was speaking. But we will review all of these at the end of this study. And lastly, I've been talking about that the original characters are pictographs, a picture symbol for a word or phrase. And this corresponds perfectly with the illustration of the heavenly Mazzaroth, the constellations, are also pictographs. Our Heavenly Father speaks through pictures. He's very consistent. And also, if you have never caught on to this, that I said our alphabet is a copycat of the base foundation of Hebrew. Even the name of it is the first two characters of the original Hebrew. Aleph, Bet, Alpha, Bet is Hebrew. All right. Before we get into the reading, I wanted to read a couple of verses. First from Ecclesiasticus. This is chapter 0. Why is this chapter 0? Because it's the introduction to the book before chapter 1. So let's go to that. As we see right here, Sirach 0. I will be reading verses 15 through 26. You are urged, therefore, to read with good will and attention, and to be indulgent in cases where, despite out diligent labor in translating, we may seem to have rendered some phrases imperfectly. For what was originally expressed in Hebrew does not have exactly the same sense when translated into another language. Not only this work, but even the law itself, the prophecies, and the rest of the books differ not a little as originally expressed. This is why we are seeking out the original Hebrew. The more you know, the more you can be blessed with more wisdom. You can expand your mindset past just what is translated in the English language. And then we're now going to go to Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 8 and 9. Here we go. Therefore, wait ye upon me, says the Most High, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Key point right here, verse 9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language. So after he comes back, judgment day of the second coming, then those that are remain, he will turn to them with a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of the Most High to serve him with one consent. Screen was black. It's better now. Okay, I think I know what's going on. I appreciate it though, guys. All right, so you heard me. Here it is right here. Zephaniah 8:9. So verse 9. For then I will turn to the people a pure language. And that language, without a doubt, is the ancient Hebrew pictographs, the original. All right. That was the introduction. Now let's get into the book. And like I showed you in the beginning, you go to becomesetapart.com and go to the study tool links, and you will find it at the bottom. All right. Second from the bottom as of right now, but things could change if you're watching this way later. All right. So we're now going to get into the book. And I'm not only recommending to read along, but I'm also recommending to read the rest of the book. It's not a long book. Half the book is the teaching things that we're going to be reading, and the other half is going over is a lexicon and the alphabet and all of the other stuff. So it's only half the book long of reading. All right, but just letting you know, we're not reading all of it. So just want to give you a jump start. And it's always fun reading stuff together, right? Let me see. This book. Y'all see it? The Ancient Hebrew Language and Alphabet by Jeff A. Benner. This is what we will be reading on. Can y'all see? Is it black or can y'all see it right now? It's still good, right? All right. Okay. Making sure because I want y'all to be able to read along. So we're going to start off at page 3. Who were the Hebrews? Let's begin, guys. The first person mentioned in the Bible as a Hebrew is Abraham. That's what I'm saying. Let's speak like Abraham spoke, right? As in written in Genesis 14:13, one who had escaped came and reported to this to Abram, the Hebrew. Is Abraham the first Hebrew? The Hebrew word for Hebrew comes from the root word, which means to cross over. A Hebrew is one who has crossed over. One of Abraham's ancestors was Eber. And I could try to pronounce every Hebrew word, but for the sake of time, I'm not even trying to sound it out. This is why you're reading it with me. All right. Continuing. The name Eber also comes from the same root, Abar, making it possible that Eber was also a Hebrew. The Bible is the story of Elohim and his covenant relationship, Hebraically understood as crossing over from death to life, with the ancestral line beginning with Adam through his descendants Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jacob's descendants, who became the nation of Yasharallah, also known as the Hebrews. A Hebrew was one who had crossed over into a covenant relationship with the Most High, beginning with Adam. Any references to the ancient Hebrews in this book is referring to the ancestral line from Adam to the nation of Yasharallah. Prior to the incident of the Tower of Babel, which will be discussed later, only one language existed. Genesis 11:1. The whole earth was one language and of one speech. From this, we can conclude that Elohim, Adam, and Eve and their descendants spoke Hebrew. The first use of the Hebrew language is recorded in Genesis 1:3, where Elohim says, Yehi, or meaning light exists. And check this out. This is the first time he says he spoke. The very first time he spoke, he says light exists, right? Or exists life. Let me show you something real quick. We go to the very first time Hebrew was spoken in verse 3. And we see it right here in Genesis 1:3. And he said, God said, Elohim, let there be light. Light exists. This is, if I click on this, if we want to go a bit deeper in the way it's written here, it's because of a third person masculine singular, but the word is Hebrew 1961, which is Haya, exist. It's just that way because of right here. All right. But that's a whole nother thing we're not getting into. And then light. And saying that this is a third person singular, it can also be translated, may he become light, or may he be light. Third person, may he be light, because this is talking about a man or a being. But haya, root word for ahaya. This is something we're going to touch on a little bit later as well. But pretty cool stuff. The first Hebrew spoke was haya, light. Or, like I said, if my pronunciation is bad, forgive me. I'm trying. Maybe stepping. Yehi, Yehi, or. In the creation account, Elohim gave Hebrew names to the sky, land, sun, moon, stars, and man. When Elohim formed Adam, he gave him this spoken language and communicated with him in Genesis 1:28. And yeah, that's where we're going to stop. Oh, we're going to stop right here. Oh yeah. And the man also used the same language to give names to all the birds, animals, beasts, and woman. All right. And so that's our introduction. And now we're going to go to page 6. Starting with Noah. Oh, actually is right at page 7. Yes, Noah's descendants. All right, yeah. No, page 6. Page 7 only. All right, well, is it still black? I gotta figure now. I can see it's something when I'm sharing. If I don't come back, I apologize. I didn't go anywhere yet. I didn't do anything, so I'm glad y'all told me. But I'm gonna figure that out, y'all. I'm gonna figure it out. Wait a minute, it's still black for some folks. My goodness, my apologies. All right, so like I said, just a little 1-minute delay here. All right, so we have now we have Noah. We're at Noah and his descendants on page 7. Let me say this: I have the physical copy of this book, but for whatever reason, the pages can be 1 or 2 off depending on where you're at in the book. So these pages I'm given online may be different than the physical copy. FYI. All right, so page 7, because this is page 6 in the book. That's what had me a little off there. Noah's descendants remained in the area known as Mesopotamia. Here, man began to build the Tower of Babel, in order to cause the descendants of Noah to scatter and fill the earth. Elohim said, "Let us go down there and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." This is in Genesis 11, and we're going to get into this in a second. But let me finish this last paragraph here. After the incident of the Tower of Babel, which occurred around 4000 BCE, we find three major languages, each very different and unrelated to each other. We have Egyptian, Sumerian, and Hebrew. The arrival of the Egyptian and Sumerian languages seems to have mysteriously appeared out of nowhere. It is interesting to note that while all three have a very similar pictographic form of writing, the sounds for each of the letters are different, possibly indicating the method which Elohim used to confuse the language of men. Very interesting stuff. All right. We're going to now cut to Genesis 11, the story of one language turning into many. Genesis 11, I'm going to be reading 1 through 9. Please tell me y'all seeing the screen. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. It's got to be Hebrew. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Most High came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of the men builded. And the Most High said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Most High scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Most High did there confound the language of the earth. And from thence did the Most High scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. Couple of things without going too much from the book into preaching, but Abraham here earned the right to keep the language of Hebrew. Understand what's going on. Abraham was the only lineage line that kept Hebrew. All the other nations were given another tongue of speech. To be on Hebrew is to be a part of what has been given as a gift. That's why I say the more you get into Hebrew, it feeds your soul. Because it's a gift. This language is deeper than any other language you're going to find. So going more into this story of the one language, we go now into Jasher. Just want to connect a couple of dots in here about these languages when it says, go to, let us go down and there confound their language. We go to Jasher, chapter 9, verses 32 verses 32 and 33. Let us read. And Elohim said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. So when in Genesis, when it said, let us go down and confuse their languages, he's talking to 70 angels, and which are in a whole nother study is the 70 angels that are governing the pagan wicked nations. And then in verse 33, and from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. So it would cause beef because they were not on the same page. And so we have the confusion of the languages, because the people were coming together as one in wickedness. What did Abba do with language when he gave us the Ruach Kodesh? People think speaking in tongues is literally just gibberish. It's the reversal of the Tower of Babel, guys. That's what Acts is all about. Was it the beginning of Acts is saying everyone was hearing the gospel in their own native tongue. Speaking in tongues is allowing the gospel to be spread, even if you have different language barriers. That's literally why it's called speaking in tongues. You're speaking in multiple languages. That's the whole gift of, which is not everyone receives when you have the Ruach Kodesh, but that's one of the gifts of the Ruach Kodesh, is speaking in different tongues. All right. And lastly, I did want to close out this part of the Tower of Babel. I wanted to read in the Septuagint, chapter 32, verses 8 and 9. So at this time, we had the 70 angels come down and confuse the nations to create the 70 nations. And in verse 8, when the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nation according to the number of the angels of Elohim. We just read it in Jasher. That was 70. He separated them according to the 70 angels, which made 70 nations in different tongues. And his people, Jacob, became the portion of the Adon. Yasharallah was the line of his inheritance. And I'm stop right there. And that's the gift of the Hebrew tongue. When he separated the nations, he gave them different tongues. His portion, Yaakov, Jacob, was receiving the gift, and Abraham received it and kept the gift of speaking in Hebrew, which was that what the scriptures are anciently written in as well. It's not just, hey guys, let's learn Hebrew because Abraham spoke Hebrew and the Israelites spoke Hebrew. No, it's also to make sure we can understand the Hebrew that we're reading. All right, let's close out some of these tabs. All right, back in the book. We're on page 17 now. Go to page 17. Everything good with the visual? No, it never said it went from one language to three. He was saying that there was three prominent languages: Sumerian, Egyptian, and Hebrew. What he was pointing out was the three sons of Noah. Shem, the prominent language, obviously, was a line of the Hebrews. The Egyptians, Ham, and Sumerians, Japheth. He was pointing out that the three descendants of Noah ended up having three prominent languages. Not saying that it was only three languages. Those are just three prominent languages that he was pointing out when you look into ancient languages. According to the scriptures, it was 70 at the time. And when we go further into the book of Jasher specifically, in the story of Joseph to become overseer of Egypt had to learn the 70 languages. You can find that in the Torah portions or look it up into the book of Jasher. All right, now we're on page 17. Why study the ancient language and culture? The Hebrew people, whose culture and lifestyle were very different than our own, wrote the Bible between 1500 to 500 BCE, when we read the Bible as a 21st century American, our culture and lifestyle often influence our inter how we interpret of the words and phrases of the Bible. A word such as rain has the meaning, the coming down of water from the clouds in the sky. He's saying that's how we see rain, right? But the interpretation of the word rain will be influenced by the context of the culture. This is true even in our own culture, where the word rain can be interpreted differently. If the local weather station forecast a rain shower for tomorrow, different people will interpret the word rain in different ways. With circumstantial biasness, the bride and groom who are prepared for an outdoor wedding view, this news will be a negative connotation. While to the farmer in the middle of a drought season, it has a positive connotation. To the ancient Hebrew nomads, the word rain was usually equivalent with life, since without it, their very existence would not be possible. Obviously, rain equals life, because when you don't have preservatives in grocery stores providing your food, you needed rain for your crops. All right. Another example. Oh, I think, we're going to skip the second example just for time's sake here. Yeah. Second example. To the next, many times. So, right here, we're just going to jump right here. Many times our culture influence will give a different definition to words that was not intended by biblical authors. For example, the Bible speaks of keeping and keeping and breaking the commandments of Elohim. The words keep and break are usually interpreted as obedience and disobedience, but this is not the ancient Hebraic meaning of these words. All right, guys, buckle up. Buckle up. Me and Aki Bruce had a full conversation about this point we're about to come up into, about what it truly means to keep the commandments. I love it. Here we go. But it says the ancient Hebrew understanding of these words is not about, excuse me, I'm right here. Okay, here we go. Excuse me. The Hebrew word for the word keep is shamar, which literally means to guard, protect, and cherish. We're going to see that the Hebrew language is much more advanced than our modern English language. Our letters, like the letter A, doesn't have a meaning. You can't do nothing with A. It's just A. The Aleph in Hebrew has a ton of meaning to it just by itself. So that's kind of what we're going to see. You're going to see that one Hebrew word can mean multiple things, and it's just something that you got to get used to. All right. So it can mean all these things: to guard, protect, and cherish. While the Hebrew word for break is parar, and literally means to trample underfoot. I want y'all to really let that marinate on for a second. We're not told to just keep the commandments. The Hebrew means to guard, protect, and cherish them. Doesn't keep sound below standard when you know what the ancient Hebrew meaning is telling us to do with it? And then break, parar, if I'm pronouncing that right, literally means to trample underfoot. Aki Bruce, what was the verse you gave? What was the verse that you gave with that in Book of Revelation? Do you want to put it out there? So we have keep is to guard and protect, and then break is to trample underfoot. So it's either you're guarding and protecting the commandments or you're trampling it underfoot. The verse that came to mind was in Revelation when it talks about the Gentiles trampling the land underfoot. Like the Gentiles were going to be perverting the land and trampling under. Let me get the verse. Let me get the verse. I meant to get this before, but I forgot. It'd be like that. Well, it's used multiple times, but specifically, Revelation 11:2. But the court, which is without, you know what? Let's put it in here so y'all can see it. Let's officially add it. Revelation 11:2. But the court which is without the temple leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. In the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. The holy city. And that sounds like Gentiles breaking commandments, perverting the holy land, the holy city, just as it means to break the commandments, to trodden underfoot. Just a lot of interesting connections when you continue going down, um, the Hebrew rabbit hole. All right, back on the reading here. Y'all let me know if everything y'all see looks good. All right, so just got done to trample underfoot. The ancient Hebrew understanding of these words is not about mechanical obedience and disobedience of his commands, but one's attitude towards them. Your heart. What's the posture of your heart? Some of this stuff is fire, but one's attitude towards them. It's not just, I've been saying this. It's not just keeping the commandments. How many people out here are keeping commandments but are as wicked as anybody? The Pharisees and Sadducees kept commandments. They kept the Most High's commandments, and they did a bunch of other stuff too. It's the posture of your heart. Are you an upright person, or are you just someone that's just trying to get by because you don't want to go to hell? Will you cherish his commands or throw them on the ground and walk on them? Man. All right. Now we're moving forward to now we're going to page 22. All right. Abstract versus concrete thought. I've brought this up to y'all before. This shouldn't be completely new to many of y'all, but now we get to read it verbatim here. Greek thought views the world through the mind, an abstract thought. And this is so true. This is how we are brought and raised in church. Listen to this. So, Greek thought views the world through an abstract mind. Ancient Hebrew thought views the world through the senses, which is he's referring to as concrete thought. Concrete thought is the expression of concepts and ideas in ways that can be seen, touched, smelled, tasted, and or heard. All five of the senses are used when speaking, hearing, writing, and reading the Hebrew language. Unbelievable. Like when you really think about it, the more you get into Hebrew, this is some of the things I felt was so important for anyone to hear and understand the difference between abstract and concrete. I love this section right here. So concrete uses all five senses, things that are tangibly real, right? You can touch it, smell it, taste it, hear it, see it. An example of this can be found in Psalms 1:3. He is like a tree planted by the streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Oh, I love Psalms 1. In this passage, the author expresses his thoughts in concrete terms, such as a tree, streams of water, fruit, and a leaf. Abstract thought is the expression of concepts and ideas in ways that cannot be seen, touched, smelled, tasted, or heard. Abstract thought is a foreign concept to the ancient Hebrew mind. Examples of before I get into abstract, and if we think about it, this is why the Most High calls us to be like a tree that bears forth fruit. Everything about our lives, he gives us examples that are tangible, that are part of creation itself. This is consistent with the ancient Hebrew. When we get into the ancient Hebrew, the literal characters, letters of Hebrew are body parts, are things that have to do with your living, your way of living. Well, the way of ancient Hebrew living, all of it is connected with creation itself. And Abba is creation. Hebrew is the language connected with the creator. Unbelievable stuff. Continuing now. Examples of abstract thought can be found in Psalms 103, verse 8. The Most High is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. The words compassion, grace, anger, and love are all abstract words. Ain't that crazy, guys, to think that these words are not the way these words are just made up words, abstract words you can't touch, feel. It's just stuff to make you feel good inside. Why do we find these abstract words in a passage of concrete thinking Hebrews? Actually, these are abstract English words used to translate the original Hebrew concrete words. The translator often translate this way because the original Hebrew makes no sense when literally translated into the English. Let us take one of the above abstract words to demonstrate the translation. From a concrete Hebrew word to an abstract English word. Anger, an abstract word, is actually the Hebrew word of, which literally means a nose, a concrete word. When one is very angry, he begins to breathe hard and the nostrils begin to flare. A Hebrew sees anger as the flaring of the nostrils. If the translator literally translated the above passage, it would be slow to nose. The English reader would not understand. And so, yes, for an English reader, it does help to translate it into anger. But the only issue is that you're leaving out all the other good detail information from the original Hebrew when you simply just say slow to anger. Let me see. Yes, we're going to keep going. Appearance versus functional description. But in closing, in this section of concrete versus abstract, when we grew up in church, we're told that, hey, believe in God. Believe you're going to heaven. Just believe, believe, believe. This is what the church is on. Everybody that goes to church know what I mean. It's all about blind faith. Blind faith. And Mashiach says, blessed are those that believe without seeing. The only angle with that is that our Heavenly Father in Mashiach actually gives us concrete things that are tangible for us to build our faith on. Yes, you may not see something happen to believe it. Like none of us was alive when Mashiach was resurrected and was able to witness it. That's something that is belief, but he has given us tangible things to believe in that can build that faith. They tell us to believe that there is a God. Concrete Hebrew thought says, look around, breathe in the air, taste the food, etc., and know that there is a creator. All these things wouldn't be possible without a creator. The perfect balance of it all. Search it out. This is the way we need to think. This is the way the Most High wanted us to think. He didn't want us just to be like, oh, believe, and no effort involved. He wants us to put more thought into it in this perspective, the way it was originally written. All right, now, continuing. Appearance versus functional description. One second. Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure where I'm at here. All right. Yep. Let's get it. Greek thought describes objects in relation to its appearance. Hebrew thought describes objects in relation to its function. A Greek description of a common pencil would be, it is yellow and about 8 inches long. A Hebrew description of the pencil would be related to its function, such as I write words with it. Notice that the Hebrew description uses the verb write, while the Greek description uses adjectives yellow and long. Because of Hebrew's form of functionality descriptions, verbs are used much more frequently than adjectives. To our Greek way of thinking, a deer and an oak are two very different objects, and we would never describe them in the same way. Oh, where am I at? Okay. To our Greek way of thinking, a deer and an oak are two very different objects we would never describe in the same way. The Hebrew word for both of these objects is ayil, because the functional description of these two objects are identical to the ancient Hebrews. Therefore, the same Hebrew word is used for both. So remember, this is about the verb, what they both represent in action, what they provide, what they represent, not their descriptions. The Hebraic definition of a yil is a strong leader. A deer, stag, is one of the most powerful animals of the forest and is seen as a strong leader among the other animals of the forest. The wood of the oak tree is very hard compared to other trees and is seen as the strong leader amongst the trees of the forest. Notice the two different translations of the Hebrew word ayil in Psalms 29:9. So was it KJV translated as the voice of the Most High makes the deer to calve, while the NIV translates it as the voice of the Most High twist the oaks. Because I remember I said this in the beginning, a lot of the, not just the characters, but the words can have multiple meanings. So this is saying that this word, a yil, can mean a deer or oak in two different translations, is just picking out which one they feel works best. The literal translation of this verse in Hebrew thought would be, the voice of the Most High makes the strong leaders turn. So you have two different translators that's just describing a Hebrew word. And then the idea of the way it should be spoken in a thought of a concrete Hebrew, he's saying the voice of the Most High makes the leaders, strong leaders turn, is the point of the message, not necessarily picking one or the other, an oak tree or a deer. When translating the Hebrew into English, the Greek thinking translator will give a Greek description to this word for the Greek thinking reader, which is why we have two different ways of translating this verse. This same word, ayil, is also translated as a ruler, a strong leader of men in 2 Kings 24:15. So all of this obviously is just for to marinate and to just understand the difference between English and a Greek mindset compared to Hebrew. All right, now passive versus active nouns. Greek nouns are words that refer to a person, place, or thing. We heard that in school, right? Person, place, or thing, a noun, right? Hebrew nouns refer to the action of a person, place, or thing. The Hebrews are active people, and their vocabulary reflects this lifestyle. The Greek culture recognized words such as knee and gift as nouns, which by themselves impart no action. But in Hebrew, just as in most ancient languages, there is no distinction between nouns and verbs. All words are related to action. The Greek mind designates a need and a gift as in inanimate nouns unrelated in meaning. The Hebrew mind sees the knee as the knee that bends, and a gift as what is brought with a bent knee. Wow. Very different, right? Very different mindset and description. Even the Hebrew nouns for father and mother are descriptive of action. The Hebrew word for father and literally means the one who gives strength to the family. And we're going to go over this in a little bit, actually show the characters in the ancient Hebrew characters. And mother means the one that binds the family together. See that? Father is, it's much more than just, oh, that's father. That just means he's the father of this child. No, father has a whole more, everything's just that much more in depth with Hebrew. When we read the ancient text of the Hebrew Bible, we must remember that the words used are related to the ancient Hebrew culture and thought. We need, therefore, to suppress our Western Greek minds, leaving them for reading the modern classics. All right. Now we're going to go into the breakdown of the names for some examples here. Oh, not yet. We're going, which part? Okay, we're getting prepared for it right here now. We'll get to that's actually a little bit later when we get into the breakdown of the Abba and Amma. All right, so now, we're staying right here, page 26, starting off with letter characteristics. We usually associate two characteristics for each letter: a form and a sound, as in the first letter of our alphabet, whose form is A and has a sound of Ah. The ancient Hebrew alphabet has four characteristics: a form, a sound, a name, and meaning. So our alphabet, A, Ah. Hebrew has you have the name, the sound, the meaning, the form or the character, and usually those meanings is more than one. So it takes a little bit more time to study the Hebrew alphabet than English alphabet for that reason, but let's continue. So we're going to break down the four. We have the form, pictographic form. The original letter is pictographic, meaning it represents a picture of something, such as the pictograph. This is a mouth, as you see, representing a mouth. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom in on that. Let's zoom in on the mouth. That is a little mouth, right? You know what? Let's keep it a little bit zoomed in. I like it like this a little bit better. All right. The meaning, mnemonic meaning of pictograph is extended meanings related to the picture. For example, the pictograph of the mouth is a picture of a mouth that has extended mnemonic meaning of speak, blow, open. So this is the Hebrew of pay, and this Hebrew pictograph pay is a mouth, and a mouth can speak, it can blow, and it opens. The meaning most often are related to the pictograph by their function rather than their appearance. Okay, their function. These things are important to remember the meaning. If you think about the appearance of a mouth, it may not really help you with the meaning of it. But if you think, what does a mouth do? A mouth can blow, it opens. We get into all that at the end. All right, the name. Each pictograph is associated with a single syllable of two consonants. The syllable is also the name of the pictograph. The name of the pictograph, the mouth, is pei, and is also the Hebrew word for mouth. And then the sound. The first letter of the symbolic name provides a singular sound for the purpose of forming words and sentences. For Phonetic value of the pictograph pay is p, pay. And this is a very big part for sounding it out. This makes so much sense. Our Father created characters, and the sounds of these characters are the sound that the character makes. Every Hebrew sound of the alphabet, you say the character Aleph, all. What is the beginning of the first letter or first couple of letters sound like? That's the sound of the letter. We'll touch on that at the end of the study. And yes. I'm not going to go into the modern Hebrew, but a lot of the sounds, and that's what I was saying earlier, the sounds they give us in modern Hebrew are not the sounds of ancient Hebrew. The dots and all the, I'm not even going to get into it. They have created an entire, value system with vowels and sounds, and they've made some Hebrew characters silent. They have changed the A sound into an E sound, which we'll see later, why you get L and not all. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want to sound like in Revelation 2:9 Jew. I want to sound like Abraham. I want to sound like Yasha. So this is the basics right here of his alphabet. What page are we on? Let's see here. All right, now we're going to page 29. With name. Just as the pictograph of a letter evolves over time, the names of the letter occasionally evolve or on rare occasion replace. The name of the pictograph of the mouth is pay. The pictograph, what is the pictograph represents is the first clue to what the name of the letter is. For example, the letter, which is a symbol of an I, the Hebrew word for an I is ayin, and is the modern name for this letter. So he's saying that the name sounds like what the pictograph is. And where we get a lot of our base foundation of the English language that comes from Latin, and Latin took it from Hebrew. But I in picture of an eye. Original Hebrew language as well be demonstrated later. The original Hebrew language consists of parent and child roots, while many of the three-letter roots, called adopted roots, were formed at a later time. And that's the thing, is that is modern Hebrew if they formed a bunch of different ways to pronounce and write and say ancient Hebrew? If I'm saying one thing that is based on the pronunciation gives a certain meaning, and you change the pronunciation, then the meaning changes. This is why this is so important. It's because I feel like if we just go around saying what everybody else is saying, is going to be mainstream, and there's going to be no life in our words that are supposed to be blessings. Especially when we're trying to speak Hebrew. If we're going to speak Hebrew, let's at least do it right, instead of putting this work into saying a language that gives no life into our brethren, right? From this, we can conclude that any letter whose modern name is an adopted root is not the original name of the letter. Interestingly, all but 5 modern names are a parent or child root word. So he's saying that there are some that we're going to see, like Aleph. Aleph is an adopted root. It's not a part of the original parent. The parent root that he's saying for Aleph is all. A-L, all, which is we're going to see the basics of this. And yeah, okay, we'll get to it. Let me see here. All right, let's continue. Names of the letters of other cultures using the Hebrew alphabet. The names for each letter is usually transferred from one country to culture to another with either a slight change or no change at all. When there is a difference, the names are compared to determine the original name. All right, now on the sounds. Each letter represents a singular sound that is used to form words. For example, the mouth, p, and hey, ha, form the word hey, pay. See that? This is an example of a adult root. It has 2 characters. And this is what he was saying. This is the basics of all the words that is formed out of Hebrew, is the adult and child roots. And so, in other words, the basics of the characters of the alphabet Hebrew characters all has to be parent roots because they are the basics of the alphabet. If it's more than a parent root, which is just 2 syllables or 2 characters, then it's not the original. I hope that makes sense. If not, then read the whole book again and take your time with it. So pay, the word pay is from 2 characters, which is an adult root. The name of the letter. The first letter of the name gives the phonetic value of the pictograph. For example, the name of the pictograph is pay and has the phonetic value of pa. The sound other cultures apply to the Hebrew alphabet. In most cases, the same sound is carried through different cultures. For example, the pay symbol in various forms through the different cultures all assign this letter a phonetic value of pa. A unique sound for each letter. In modern Hebrew alphabet, 2 letters are silent, 2 letters are assigned the T sound, and 2 letters are assigned the S sound. It is more likely that the original Hebrew alphabet did not waste letters by duplicating sound or using them as silent. Which, once again, when we at the very end, we'll touch on the entire alphabet, Hebrew alphabet. Vowels. All the letters in the Hebrew alphabet are consonants. Some of these letters doubled as vowels, much like the Y in the Roman alphabet, which can be a consonant as in the word yellow or a vowel as in the word fly. And meaning. The meaning of a letter is related to the picture the form of the letter represents. These meanings are then a part of the meaning of the words, which use letters. The name of the letter. The name of the letter is a Hebrew word with meaning in usually more than one. For example, the name of the letter Pei can mean a mouth that can speak, blow, or edge. It can mean all of these things. It just depends on the use of the context of how you say this word is how you would use it, whichever one you would use. And then it talks about how we will go later and it will show the description of all the pictures and meaning. All right. We're done with that section. So now we're going to continue reading to per page 34. All right. So I know some of this stuff can be difficult to understand, just like anything that you've never seen before. So this study, as usual, will be posted, and it's meant for you to take your time. And the same reason why I gave you the link to the book, so you can go and read the full and make sure you can incline your way of thinking on it as best to your ability. Because now we're getting into the root system, and I know this stuff can be a little complicated. Okay, so I feel like it was important to at least touch on during this live this right here. So the Hebrew language uses a root system for its vocabulary. The root system is like a tree where the leaves or words come from the branches, the child root. The branches come from the trunk, the parent root. And the trunk comes out of the roots, letters. That makes perfect sense to me. And I love that he did it with a concrete thought. He gave us something concrete to make it make sense. We understand how a tree works, right? And we can see that the trunk are just the letters, just the characters. And then each of the characters, the letters are named, and that's what I was saying, that this is the foundation. The letters and them that are named are combined, which are parent roots. All parent roots are two characters. Very easy way to know that it's a parent root is because it has two Hebrew characters. Child roots have three Hebrew characters. And as we will read, this, the more you go and you add, the word gets more descriptive or specific. That's what's happening. The further character is being added, is getting more descriptive of what is they're trying to say. All right, parent roots. When two letters or pictographs are put together, a parent root is formed. See that? Two. When the house bet is combined with noon, a seed which continues the next generation, the parent root is pronounced bin. We've seen this over and over in the Bible, that it would be, well, in certain translations, you would see bin and then someone's name. Or if you look into the Hebrew, it's saying that the chapters when it says so and so begot so and so, so and so begot so and so. You go into the Hebrew, you see this word, this parent word of bin, which is the life that continues. The two letters of this root have the combined meaning of the house of seeds, or the seeds that continue the house or family. And yes, I'm glad you said that. I almost forgot. Hebrew is read right to left. I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier. So think about this. we can sound these out a little bit, just like you can sound out an English word, right? If you know the sounds, we have, remember the sound is like the first letter of the word. We have bet. So if we see this from right to left, we see ba, and then the noon, na. So when you add the B in the noon, this is where you get bin, but in, pronounced bin. So right to left, and then obviously it's translated left to right. So yes, that's why this is right to left, but it's translated left to right. The two letters of this word is combined. Oh, I read that already. Or it's usually translated simply as son. Another example is the parent root. We're going to skip another example. We're going to go to the child root now. So let's go to the child root. Hold on, let's go down. All right, the child root of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, 4 double as consonants and vowels. The all, the hey, the wall, and the yod, or the aleph, the hey, the vav, and the yod in modern Hebrew. A child root is formed by adding one of the consonant / vowels as a prefix in the front, a suffix in the end, or an infix in the middle to the parent root. While the parent root represents a concrete subject with a wide range of nomadic meanings, the purpose of the child root is to separate out the various nomadic meanings of the parent root. So it's getting more specific. It's given that's why I was saying is how it's being used in the context of the writings. What is being added to the original word that gives the meaning? And what is the topic, right? Therefore, all the child roots formed from the parent root are directly related in meaning to the parent root. Below are the child root. Okay, we're not going to go into all of those details. That's more of your own time. And we're going to just stop right there. Just wanted to get, like I said, I'm just trying to give you an appetizer of the Hebrew language in this study here. Okay, so now we're going to some examples of the name of the families and their meanings on page 43 in the digital copy, at least. So we're going to do a word study here. The purpose of this book is to provide the reader with tools and resources to read the Bible with a Hebraic understanding and see the text through the eyes of ancient Hebrew who wrote it. That's what this study is about, and that's why we're reading from this book. I think it does a well enough job on that point of view. Let us now put all this technical information to work by looking at the passage through Hebraic eyes. So the focus is on, in this verse, Genesis 14:22, he's going to focus on simply God and the Creator and see what is really being spoken when you search it out. And this is the idea of what this study is about, is taking all of this stuff we're learning, and so you can pull any verse and break it down and find the deeper meaning. Just like he's going to give us an example of it here. God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. We will examine two words within this sentence: God and creator. Both of these words are abstract words from Greek thought. Our goal is to find the tangible, concrete Hebraic context of these words that will reveal the heart of God the Creator. Let's go. The Hebrew word translated as God is in a aleph and lamed. That is the modern Hebrew, aleph and lamed, or all, and is a parent root word. The ancient pictographs for this root are the ox head and a shepherd's staff. The first picture, remember Hebrew is read from right to left, is an ox head representative of power because of his great strength. And the second is a shepherd's staff, and it is representative of authority as well as a yoke. A team of oxen yoked together pulled a cart or plow to train the younger oxen. An older, more experienced ox as the leader was yoked to the younger. The Hebraic meaning of all is a powerful leader. The ancient Hebrews saw themselves yoked to God, who taught them how to walk a proper life. Man, tell me that ain't deep right there. This is falls perfectly in line with what scripture speaks about when he says you can't serve two masters because you're going to be yoked with one of them. One of the masters, the idea of serving a God means you're yoked with them. And that this is also why he tells us not to be unequally yoked. And he uses the metaphor of marriage, where you should become one with your God, because that's literally the Hebraic ancient meaning of God, is to be yoked with him. Come on now. All right, let's continue. The second word, creator, is the Hebrew word quane, if I'm saying that one right, derived from the parent root quin, meaning a nest. This was very interesting as well. The pictographs for this word are kuf and noon. The first pictograph is the sun at the horizon where light is gathered. The pneumatic meaning of this letter is a gathering together. That's the meaning, gathering together. The second picture is a seed. The combining these letters mean a gathering together for the seeds. Before the bird lays her eggs, she gathers material together to build a nest. The child root, kuf, noon, and hay for has the meaning of acquiring the materials for the nest. The ancient Hebrews saw God as a bird that builds a nest, the heavens and the land for his children. Like, come on. Tell me when we read the scriptures about the Most High being a bird, that Mashiach and in Second Ezra speaks about him you being chicks as that is under the wing of a hen, or him being an eagle. The actual meaning of creator is a bird that gathers together for the seeds. He creates the nest, this realm, earth. Very cool stuff. The Hebraic understanding of this verse is that God brought together the heavens and the earth as the nest for his children. He could nurture and care for them as a mother and teach and guide them into truth by yoking them to himself. Whoa. Now we're going to go up. This is what he is saying the ancient Hebrew is conveying to us in Genesis 14:22. It's this deep. God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. That's how it's translated to us. And this is how he says the meaning. God brought together the heavens and the earth as the nest for his children. He could nurture and care for them as a mother and or father and teach and guide them into truth by yoking them to himself. Love it. Love it. I feels you. All right. I'm just checking my pages on my notes. Want to see, make sure I'm not missing anything. No, it's straight through. Let's keep going. So the voice, this is just more examples of what all the things we've been talking about now. Let us look at Deuteronomy 5:22 as another example of how the Hebraic understanding of words reveals the heart of God, Elohim. Deuteronomy 5:22 reads, "These are the commandments of the Adon. Proclaim in a loud voice to your whole assembly there on the mountain from out of fire." Two words in this passage, assembly and voice, come from the same parent root, qual, the kuf and lamed, or lam. We have previously looked at these two pictographs in this chapter. The first letter is the sun rising, meaning to gather. And the second is the shepherd's staff. Combined, they have the meaning of to gather to the staff of the shepherd. Wow. To gather to the staff of the shepherd. That's what the assembly and voice parent root is. The shepherd carried a staff as a tool to lead and guide the sheep, as well as to discipline and protect them. The staff is a sign of his authority over the sheep. When the shepherd calls the flock, they recognize his voice and gather to him. Man, does this not sound like Mashiach? The Hebrew word quol, if I'm saying that close enough, translated as voice in our passage above, is the voice of the shepherd. The Hebrew word quahal, translated as assembly above, is the gathering of the sheep to the voice of the shepherd. Beautiful. The ancient Hebraic understanding of this verse is that Elohim is the shepherd who will teach and protect his sheep. And when he calls them, they come to him as his flock. Well, that sounds like scripture to me. All right, so now we're going over more ancient Hebrew words. By examining the titles of family members through the pictographic letters that form the words, we can better understand the Hebraic definition of these words. Father. The first letter is the all, a picture of an ox. As the ox is strong, The letter also has the meaning of strong. The second letter is bet, is the picture of the tent or house where the family resides. So we have a all or olive and bet. This is where we get Abba. Abba. You see? You know Hebrew just like that. You can sound out these easy parent roots at least. The other ones take a little bit more, just like, in English and other, it takes a little bit more fine tuning to be able to sound out bigger words, but some of these are real easy. All bet. The sounds is Abba. And the meaning is one who gives strength to the house. And think about that. This is talking about our heavenly Abba for this realm and the heavens and everything included. He is the strength. He's what we give praise to because he gives us strength. Mother. This word also begins with the letter all, meaning strong. The second letter is ma or mim, meaning water. The two letters give us the meaning of strong water. The Hebrews made glue by boiling animal skins in water. As the skin broke down, a sticky, thick liquid formed at the surface of the water. This thick liquid was removed and used as a binding agent called strong water. So the meaning of Ama is one who glues or binds the family together. How beautiful. And going off of the basic sounds, like I said, what we haven't got to, let me say this. We will go through all of them individually with the sounds, all of this. We're going to right, Shekinah. Once you learn the base of each letter, reading Hebrew isn't difficult. You just got to get used to it, right? But we're going to go through all these sounds, okay? So I know I'm just kind of saying sounds, but we're going to go over all of them. So, like I said, you have some type of foundation here. But funny thing here. So we have reading right to left, Alma is the actual Hebrew word for mother. So a lot of us be like, say mama, mama. Remember, this is ma or mim, ma. Either way, ma is the sound. So if there's two of these, this is what we would say is mama. Well, do you want to go in the back of this book as well? The book that we're reading from has a little lexicon and definitions in it and whatnot. And let's go to it. I want to show you what mama means that you're actually saying to your mother. It's on page 159, at least on the digital copy. It's on 159. So we'll come back to page 46. Let's go to 159. So two mims. What page is that? 159. Here we go. Look what two mims mean. To ma. Great chaos. Anything that is considered useless or without value. That's what y'all saying, right? Mama. Crazy. The English language is here to trick you into saying goofy stuff like this. All right. Back to page 46. All right. So So mother is what? Not mama, it's Alma. Alma. All right, brother. Most of you know brother. This word also begins with all, meaning strong. The second letter is het, a picture of a wall. These letters give us the meaning strong wall or strong barrier. The English concept of a wall is descriptive of anything with a tall vertical appearance. The Hebrew concept of a wall is any barrier, no matter the construction. So, sounding out brother, you got ah and k, 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 ah, k, ah, k, ak. One who acts as a strong barrier to protect the family. All right. And lastly, son. This word begins with bet, meaning tent or family, which reside in it. The second letter is noon, the picture of a seed. The seed is a new generation of life that will grow and produce a new generation. But not one who continues the family line. And then just scrolling down after this, we're just going to see how this is a little bit more paleo Hebrew than pictograph, but it just shows you this is the Hebrew, how much the modern day alphabet has still similarities to the ancient Hebrew language. Okay, so now we're going to scroll all the way. All of it, so much good information you can go through. This actually goes into the details altogether, but we're going to go to more of the teaching part. It starts in page 72 from an English reader. And right before we get into it, let's remember that the Hebrew sound, the sound of the letter will be defined and is always the sound of the first letter of the Hebrew name. Let's remember that. All right, so here we are. We're going to briefly go over each of the 22 Hebrew characters here. We have in modern Hebrew, they call this a aleph. This is in ancient Hebrew, is just all, a parent word of aleph and lamed. We know that now this is a head of an ox, which means to be strong, power, or a leader. We see that the English letter is an A. Literally, it's an upside down ox head. Do y'all see it? The ox head and the horns. The ox head and the horns. Upside down A. And the close word for pronunciation is all. All. Aleph. All. The Hebrew name all. The Hebrew word all means ox and is the original name of this letter. This is the only Hebrew letter used as a vowel only. In modern Hebrew, this letter is silent. Strong. All right. Then we're on to bet, which is a tent. Similar is the B, obviously. And it kind of looks like a lying down B with the door open because, I mean, that's what we're looking at. If you don't know what we're looking at, it helps to understand the pictograph. This is a tent design. This is a tent door open. And this is a separation of rooms in the tent. So it's like the floor plan of a tent is what we're looking at. And so he's saying that the word bed originally came from bet because it is represents the home where the bed resides. The original name for this letter is bet, meaning tent or family in Hebrew. The Hebrew sound for this can be bet, b, or b, like the end of a like bob, b. So you have b and ba, b, ba. Two ways to say bet. Meaning family inside. Then we have gem, or gimel. Gimel, well, we see here, let me see, our word game comes from the Latin word gam, meaning leg, coming from the Hebrew word gam, meaning foot. That's what this is, y'all. This is a foot. Meaning to gather. Men and animals would walk on foot, gathering all the nearest water hole. This letter can also mean to walk or carry. Then we have dal, or in modern Hebrew, dalet, which is a door. And you may look at this like, that doesn't look like a door. But it's because the whole point of reading this book is so you can understand it through a Hebraic mindset. Because it's not a door with hinges that we have in our houses. This is a door of a tent and it's hanging. And that's literally the meaning of it. The door is hanging because it's a curtain to hang. And remember, a lot of Hebrew expresses the verb. What is the door doing? The door is hanging, and it also can mean to open. Verbs of the door. So this is a curtain. So think about a curtain to like your shower. That's more of what you're looking at than like a door with hinges. So dal, the Hebrew word dal meaning door became our word for door. Hey, a, hey. This is the E, a. And it kind of looks like this is the head with the top of the man with no head, right? The a, hey. Man with arms raised. This picture is a man with his arms outstretched at seeing a great sight. And yeah, I remember this as thinking about a man saying, hey, hey, hey. Yep, everything. Hey, the huh or a sound, meaning to look, or can mean a sigh or breath. And so before we continue, I wanted to touch on this. Hey can mean a sigh or breath. So when you look into when you're looking into like a haya, and we were looking earlier at this right here, the first word was in one third person form haya. Let's go to it. Hebrew 1961. We click on that. So we see right here. It's the hey, yod, hey, right? Haya. If we go now, we're going to go to, so that is a parent root, right? Haya is a parent root. It has, a child root. It has 3 characters. If we go to the parent root, and I have the other book here that I mentioned in the very beginning, the lexicon. So if we go to the lexicon here, and I'm in the lexicon, the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible by Jeff Benner as well. And in this lexicon, let's go right here. So Strong's 1961. We just got done looking at it. This is what it's showing, that this word is under this parent root. I'm just showing you that here it is, to exist, haya. Okay. So the parent root, if we go to the top here, is to haze. And it means to breathe. This pictograph represents one who is looking at a great sight with his hands raised, taking a long breath. And it's heavy breathing. So haya means to exist. Haya means to exist, right? Hey, yod, hey, to exist. The parent root is hey, hey. Let me wrap this up, what I'm saying. This language is connected with creation. Hey is literally someone exhaling. The sound is ha. So give a big exhale. Inhale. Doesn't that sound like the sound that hay makes? Hey, ha. The ha sound is an exhale. The root word for haya is 2 exhales. It literally is the expression of life. Remember, what started life? What did he do with Adam? He breathed. He exhaled into Adam. He literally did what the language of creation is. To exist is breath, which is an exhale, which he did with Adam in the garden. I think it's just unbelievable how the language is so intertwined with creation itself. Okay. Getting back on it now. So we're at the 5th letter, hey. Okay. Continuing. This is pronounced as vav in modern Hebrew. In ancient Hebrew, it is wall. It can give the sound. Oh, this is a tent peg. That holds the tent down, which why it means to secure. Remember, what does the pitcher do? It is securing the tent down. It can also mean to add, or it can be a symbol of a nail. And once again, this is wall, which is the wa, o, u sounds of Hebrew. We have a mattock, or a gardening hoe. Is kind of I forgot to add that picture. Oh, I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna add it before the end of this live. I have a good picture of like a garden hoe that looks just like this. That kind of helps. That kind of helps with the visual here of what this is, because this, like I said, I want you to understand what you're looking at. But this Hebrew word is Zion or Zan, In some of his writings, he call it just Zon. Right here, he has a Zion with the Z sound, and it means to cut. It's represent a tool used for cutting, and can also mean to can mean food because it's harvesting like stuff from the garden, from your crops. And give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull this Matic real quick. I know I have it right here. Wow, there's actually a couple other pictures. Totally forgot to post. I'm going to put them all. I'm going to put them all up right now. Better late than never. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go to Canva, and I'm going to show you some of these pictures of what we're looking at here. One second. Just putting them out now. All right. So let's share this. All right. So this is a mattock. It looks like like I said, a garden hoe for harvesting and whatnot. This is what you're looking at. I hope this helps. I forgot to upload these. Oh, it just totally slipped my mind. Okay. Just wanted to show that image. All right. Moving on. So we have het. Can also be spelled with two H's instead of a CH. It represents a wall. This is the 8th character of the Hebrew alphabet. The tent was divided into 2 sections with a wall separating the tent in half. And that's the meaning. It means to separate. It is a tent wall that means to separate, or it can be outside or to divide. The sound is the k, like back k, or it k, k, k. Gotta practice that. K. The sound of he, he, k. Right? K. It's different. He, he. Very, very different sound. Continuing. Tet. It's a basket. The sound is ta, tet, ta, and it means to contain. Or it can mean mud or clay because that is what the basket usually was made out of in Hebrew culture. So, tet. And this is we'll cover all at the end. And then we have the 10th, which is pronounced in modern Hebrew yod, but in ancient is yad, which is the picture is the hand or arm of a man. And they use the example of the word yard, yad. The word yad means hand. Let me start going down. And it means to work, to throw, or worship. Things you do with your hands, your works, right? Then we have a palm. So you have your palm, and a palm bends. And that's the meaning of it. And it is cough. I also remember this like you cough into your hand, like, right? So, yeah, you're like, oh, what is that again? That's, it's a palm which bends. It can open. It can allow. These are all meanings. And it gives the sound of ka or k. And a shepherd's staff. This J is a shepherd's staff. The Hebrew raised sheep for wool, food, leather, and milk. The Hebrew shepherd always carried a staff that could be used as a weapon to protect the flock from predators as well as to discipline the sheep. The English word lamb is the word that is close to the Hebrew name lam. This is in modern Hebrew is lamed or lam in ancient. The sound is la, lamb. The meaning authority, and can also mean teach or yoke or to go to, which is some that we touched on earlier. And I wanted to show you a picture of a real life shepherd's staff. Let's put that shepherd's staff right next to it. As you can see, modern Hebrew, lamed or lam. Continue. What number are we on? We are on number 13 of 22 with the pictograph that is water. That looks like water, right? Which is in modern Hebrew, mem, ancient Hebrew, ma. Oh, is it black? Is it good? Okay. Modern Hebrew, mem or ma. The word ma means water. The Hebrew word for water is mayim, a plural word for the singular word ma. The Hebrew sound is ma, meaning mighty. Can also be chaotic, can mean blood, or different type of bloods, get more and more detail. So this is ma. Okay, so sometimes you will see that this one can be pronounced as noon or none. He has the English name that sounds similar to it as new. So clearly he's saying it is pronounced noon and not none. So we'll just go with what he has here, which is a seed. This is a sprouting seed. And the word noon literally means new life. The Hebrew sound is na, to continue. a son or an heir. All right. We are on the modern Hebrew. You will see it as Samek. Samek. In ancient, it is sin. And what is sin? A picture of a thorn. It's very interesting. A thorn which can take a hold of you, grab upon you, poke you, hurt you, is the pictograph he chose for sin. The name to call it sin. Very interesting. With the sound of sa. And then one we saw earlier, ayin, even though he has it as Gayan, he actually changes this later in another book when I'm doing my research. He has it as two separate words now. He's saying that there was a, still researching ancient Hebrew. I'll show you here that now there's an ayin and a Gayan, or a ga and an ayin. Let me see. We look back here. It was actually right here. See, we have ayin, and then we have this one right here, ga, ga. And see, translated, they, for what they were saying, I don't know. It's a lot of extensive research on this word that now has been combined with ayin in some like translations. So still trying to decipher that, but it honestly isn't something to worry about in a sense of the introduction of language, because you really don't see it, right? So it's nothing to stress, at least in the beginning. So disregard the Gaian. He has them totally separate. It is ayin. That's what it's often pronounced, ayin, as in eye, right? And literally a picture of an eye. And right here it has the sound of "ga" for Gaian, but like I said, he separates that totally. But the meaning is to see, and this is to watch, know, and shade can also be the meanings. And then we have the word we saw quite a few times, pay. Pay. It doesn't, and this is a mouth. And when you get the pay, the letter P, doesn't the letter P looks like a mouth with the tongue out? I don't know. I'm just saying. Trying to think of little things that help you remember the mouth. Um, the Hebrew name, pay, the sound is pa or pa. And it could once again mean to open, blow, edge. And then you will see this one translate in different characters as well. I'm trying to think. Toddy, yeah, Toddy is one way it was pronounced, Sadi, but it's Sod. And this is the origin of the word side, because it's a man laying on his side. Sod. So sod, literally the sound, as in pots, pots, sod. Meanings laying on his side, laying in wait to hunt the prey. So that literally is a man laying on his side. Hebrew pictograph is the original stick figures for sure. Then we have kuf, kuf, which is the sun at the horizon. This is a picture of the sun at the horizon where the light is concentrated at this point, while the rest of the sky is dark. So every time you see the sun at the horizon, you could be like, "Kuf," which is the meaning of the circling of the sun around, or its circuit around the earth, not around the earth, like the heliocentric model. And kuf, 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 the Q, which is also can mean to condense, where the light condenses at the horizon. And then we have Resh, the head of a man. Pretty straightforward, right? Resh. R sound, Resh sound. It means can mean the head, the top, or the beginning. And then we have, these are two front teeth. So these are two front teeth. The word for this is shin. And I remember this by shin. When you say shin, you show your two front teeth. Shin. Yeah, I for sure going to update my YouTube for myself personally to make sure it's not because I'm not updated or whatnot after this, but we're good. We're good. So it gives the sh sound, and the meaning is sharp, like teeth, for cutting up meat and chewing food. It can mean to eat, devour, and to press, as teeth does. And then the last but not least, the sign that represents a mark or a sign that is pronounced as tav with a V is tall with a W here. And this sound gives us a t sound. And this is our recap. I'm gonna give you a video that does the sounds. But you know what? Let's play that first. Now we're gonna sound it out like the regular alphabet. And I like this video, even though I do got some input on it. But let's listen to it.
Memorize these letters. Practice saying them while you're.
So these are the Middle Hebrew that is also called Paleo. So these are a little different from the pictograph, but these are the characters that was used during the times of King David. So this is still the very righteous symbols that he's using right here. It just wasn't the symbols that Abraham was using. These didn't exist until David's time. The ones that I have real issues with is the modern Hebrew. But this paleo and pictographs is where it's at.
At home, while you're on the train, wherever you're at, just keep them in your mind. Abaga da hawaza chatayaka lama nasa ipataza kwarashata. Abaga da hawaza chatayaka lama nasa ipataza kwarashata. Abaga da hawaza chatayaka lama nasa ipataza kwarashata. Hebrew 22 letters.
Okay. So the only thing that I have to say is reading this book, there was two pronunciations. If we're using the sound of the actual word, which makes so much sense, he has the last tav as the. And if we, I'm going to go back to sharing the book. Modern Hebrew, as stated in this book, they have the same sound for two different letters, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But sound should be ta, as in tav, ta. The sound is the that for basket. It has a th in it, and then that's the sound. That. So this is the, and this is ta. And then he says ta sa. I just think it's sa, sod, sod, sod. Ta sa, that's not the sound at all. Ta sa is like a word. Sod, sa is the sound. So if we're just looking at it, we got ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ha, da, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, tis, qua, ra, sha, ta. One more time, family. Based on the sounds given to us in the book, we have the ah, bet, ba, gam, ga, dal, da, he, ha, wa, zan or zion, za, het, he, that, the, yad, ya, kaf, ka, lam, la, ma, noon, na, sin, sa, ayin, I, pe, pa, sad, sa, kuf, kwa, resh, ra, shin, sha, ta, ta. All right. So when you're sounding out the little words, the parent and the child roots, you get really close till it gets real complex, and then you're gonna need some more help with it. Okay, so that's our overview here. And lastly, just wanted to show some pictures on 119 and 120 that I kind of have already on the Canva setup. So, yep, here, go a little bit back. Here we have it of the meaning, the name, the sound, all right here for you. Once again, it's in that book. And then the same thing, it's the modern Hebrew, showing the difference and the comparison of the script characters with the name, and even the Greek to the Latin as well. And without, let me make sure. I think we're good. So that being said, Tawada Yasharallah for joining me on this study called The Ancient Hebrew Language and Alphabet, a book study on this book by Jeff A. Benner. And one last thing before I go, I want to go to my website and show y'all one more time if you are looking to get these resources. All right. So one last time before I close it out. Go to Learning Academy tab at the top. Study tools, links. You have all these links. You should check out all these links, by the way, so you know what's up here. Might be something you've been looking for. And then this link right here was the book we read from in this live. And then this is the lexicon that I was able to pull up the parent root for Haya. And you can do a lot more other words. I have a list of words that I was just working on. Where's that? Let me see. I'll show you little word chart on here for just, the basic words, getting it all the way to its pictograph form. Good stuff. Do all that. You could do a lot of that in either book, but the other lexicon is much bigger and more vast. But that being said, thank y'all for joining me. May y'all have a Barak Shabbat. And I pray that you're learning, especially with through the Hebrew language, it turns your understanding into his scripture into that much more of a barakah, a blessing. So Shabbat Shalom, and I'm out.